Oh, hi. I'm guessing you're here because you want to study about biology and not end up like this guy. Alright, let's find these players and kill them. Wait, where's the cover? Come on. No. Alright, I think there's enough video games for tonight.
Is that the sun?
That guy surely failed. Anyway, here's my group's video on cellular respiration.
The first step in cellular respiration is glycolysis. It is the process where glucose is broken down into two molecules of pyruvate, which then produces ATP. It happens in the cytosol of the cell cytoplasm. The first phase is where two ATPs are used in order for the glucose to be broken down into two 3-carbon compounds, or also known as phosphoglyceraldehyde. The phosphoglyceraldehyde has 3 carbons which came from the glucose and 1 phosphate group that came from the ATP. While the second phase is where the phosphoglyceraldehyde turns into pyruvate with the help of 2 ATPs and NADH. With that, the components needed for the glucose to turn into pyruvate are glucose, 2 NAD+, 2 ADPs, and 2 phosphate groups. Alongside the 2 pyruvates, 2 NADH, 2 ADPs, and 4 ATPs are also produced.
The second major step is the Krebs cycle. This is also called the citric acid cycle. Remember that it really has nothing to do with the fruit. We are now involved in the mitochondria, and this step requires oxygen. The pyruvate that was made before, it's now converted and will be oxidized. Carbon dioxide is produced and we produce 2 ATP, 6 NADH, in which the two were from the pyruvate conversion before Krebs cycle, and 2 FADH. FADH is a coenzyme like the NADH, and it will also assist in transferring electrons to make even more ATP.
The third step is the electron transport chain. We are still in the mitochondria, and we do require oxygen for this step. This is a very complicated process, and we are really doing our best in simplifying it. And say that electrons are transferred from the NADH and the FADH to several electron carriers, and they are used to create a proton gradient. The protons are used to power this enzyme called ATP synthase. ATP synthase is an enzyme that takes phosphate and adds them to ADP. And if you add one phosphate to ADP, you make ATP. So, that's what ATP synthase does. It makes ATP. And it makes the ATP by adding those phosphates. Now, oxygen is the final acceptor of this electron, and when you have an oxygen molecule combining with two protons, you get H2O, which is water. So water is a product as well. The electron transport chain produces a lot of ATP compared to the other two steps. It's all because of the ATP synthase. This step makes 34 ATP, meaning that the net amount of ATP, when you added all three steps, would be 38 ATP.
Now looking at our formula, we can see how the glucose and the oxygen were on the reactant side were used to produce carbon dioxide, water, and ATP energy. ATP energy was really the main goal in cellular respiration. Without ATP, there will be no storage and transportation of chemical energy within the cell. and also no synthesis of nucleic acids. Our cells can't live without ATP energy. So, until next time.